Beaten 1-0 by Brighton and Hove Albion tonight. Gary Gillespie and Jason McAteer are with me in the studio. 7 points off the top now, Jason. Manchester City have played a game fewer. How damaging a night is that for Liverpool?
Well, the steep hill has just become a small mountain. Yeah, you look at the form City are in, another really good dominant performance by them tonight. We've got them coming up, obviously. If we were to lose against City, you would have to say they were firm favourites. They've got one hand on that trophy. You can't lose back-to-back games, Burnley and Brighton, if you're challenging for the Premier League title. It's just not going to work. And, tonight was a little bit reminiscent of Southampton, West Brom. They got a little bit devoid of ideas at times. They tried their best. You can't argue with the commitments and the application. The miles that they've run tonight, is there to be seen. But you've got to be clinical. You've got to find a way. And I did say, I was slightly sceptical that Brighton could, dig deep, roll the sleeves up and put in a good solid defensive performance. I was a little bit worried that they could do that because of the way Graham Potter likes to play. But they showed tonight that they've definitely proved me wrong. They've got it in the locker to do it, and you've got to give them all credit for the way they defended, keeping the shape, the discipline, the honesty that they showed. Like I said, it was very reminiscent of the Southampton performance away. We just couldn't break them down, and it's cost us dearly tonight.
I was going to say, Gary, does it feel like a bit back to square one after losing to Burnley in a similar manner? So good in the games against West Ham and Tottenham, and now back to the sort of performance that saw them lose that unbeaten record of 68 games at Anfield?
Absolutely. I think you've got to give credit to Brighton a little bit. I thought they defended well, but when they had the opportunity to break, as we saw with the goal, they get bodies in the box. I don't think we get enough bodies in the box at times. I think it's maybe the time when you probably need an out-and-out number 9, an out-and-out goal scorer, where you've got Firmino that comes outside, gets involved in the build-up play, does exceptionally well, works his socks off, as do all the Liverpool players. But then when you're looking for that ball into the box, there's not an abundance of red jerseys in there. We like to play from side to side, we like to move teams around, but if we can't move teams around, then we don't really look as if we've got a goal threat in us. And sometimes when you're passing from side to side, you just don't do it quick enough. And if you don't do it quick enough and sharp enough, and you don't move off the ball quick enough, you get nights like this. And we've had too many nights like this season so far. The games that you mentioned, Southampton, Burnley, West Brom, just too many of them, and it's a disappointing result. There's no getting away from that.
It seems so Jekyll and Hyde though, Jason, that when they're good, they're excellent, and we've seen it plenty of times. We saw it at Tottenham last week, away at Chelsea, the game at Manchester City, which actually they drew at home to Leicester. It's fabulous performances, but then the drop-off seems so stark, doesn't it?
Outstanding, but I think you do need to look at the teams that you play against. The outstanding performances really have come against teams that are open. You look at Tottenham. They don't sit defensively, do they? They do like to play themselves in areas of the pitch where you can win the ball, you can break quick, and you can hurt them. West Ham were very similar. We seem to struggle against the teams that really drop deep. Again, they were a 3, they went to a 5, they packed the midfield. I thought Bissouma was man of the match. I thought he was absolutely outstanding. Everything he did, interceptions, he broke things up. I think the thing for me is, I don't see us having a plan B. It's all right changing personnel. Like Gary said, if you're going to change it, then have a focal point of a central striker who just plays within the sticks. That could be a plan B, but we just don't seem to have that. Divock Origi, is a tall player. He drifts left. He likes to play left, but he gives you very much the kind of style what Mane plays like, which obviously just not as good. Oxlade-Chamberlain comes on, he doesn't do anything different than Curtis Jones would do, or maybe a Thiago would do, or a Shaqiri would do. It's just nothing different. All right, it's different personnel, it's a bit fresher, but they don't really look like they come on and anything changes.
I'm not a great believer in plan Bs. I mean, when people start saying plan B, make your plan A better. That should be your plan B. Make your plan A better.
How do you enhance
it? Do things better. That's all you need to do. Move the ball quicker, see things earlier. Anticipation has got to be sharper. It's not about having a plan B. I mean, the plan B is like putting your centre back and like playing him centre forward. That's the plan B. But that's not tactics. That's just like putting your big fella up and lumping it up into the 18-yard box.
Plan B can be a difference of formation, can't it?
Well, I think they tried that. We've tried that umpteen times, different formations.
The question would be then, Gary, you talk about having a plan A or making your plan A better. When your plan A has got you 196 points in 2 seasons,
Correct.
How does it suddenly fall from that to where we are at the moment?
Because you're slightly off. Simple as, you're just slightly off. You don't see a pass quick enough, closes up. It's a split second. It's literally split seconds. I mean, all the great teams, when you look at like Brazil 1970, do you think they had a plan B? What were they going to do?
I wasn't born, Gary, I wouldn't know.
Just bang the ball up to a centre forward? No, they weren't. They played like how they play. Do you think that Liverpool back in my day had a plan B? No, we didn't. We played how we played.
So what did you do when you went through ruts like this?
You just try harder. Absolutely try harder, do things a little bit better. You can't legislate for games like that. I mean, you look at all the games that we have dropped points in. Have we been the second best side on the pitch? No, we haven't. We've been the best side on the pitch. So, normally the best side on the pitch wins, but it doesn't happen all the time.
I've always said, if you're going to beat Liverpool...
You're not telling me Brighton were better than us tonight.
They had 1 shot on target, Liverpool.
Well, you're not tell me Brighton were better than us. Tell me West Brom were better than us.
Just because we have,
just because you
we have the lion's share of possession doesn't mean that we're the better team, does it? We didn't win the game. You can have as much possession as you want.
Well, who would you rather be playing for, Brighton or Liverpool?
Of course, I'd rather be playing for Liverpool.
Right.
What I'm going to say, there's 2 ways of beating Liverpool. You either go toe to toe with them and believe in your players, and have really good players like Man City.
But you said like Man City, it's just Man City. You would do well to think of another team in this country who can go toe to toe with Liverpool and play like that. And teams have tried. I remember that game, famous game on Boxing Day last season, where Leicester tried to go toe to toe and they got absolutely torn apart. What other teams can genuinely say we'll go toe to toe? Possibly Chelsea if they get the right. When Tuchel gets in time, they've got players, but there's very few.
Listen, I think there's enough. I'd say Chelsea. I think Jose, Tottenham. I would say who believe in their tactics and have got the players with the capabilities of doing that. Obviously, you're looking at the top 6 teams, aren't you? But then the other way you beat Liverpool is you stay defensive minded. You try and play on the break. Exactly what West Brom have done. Exactly what Brighton have done. Southampton scored early. Exactly what they did. And I think teams are becoming more astute to playing like that.
They're not
and
becoming
Liverpool,
more astute.
I think they are.
Liverpool have faced this problem for like 4 or 5, probably even like longer than that, seasons.
So why all of a sudden have we found it very difficult to break them down? There's got to be a reason. Either teams are doing it better, or we're not as good as breaking teams down. We've got the same players on the pitch doing the same things.
We're obviously not as good as breaking them down.
But is there an element of being found out? Is there an element of managers like Graham Potter studying the game? Because these young managers now, they study the game. They're not mugs, are they? They don't just roll a team out and go, right, that's the way we're going to play. And they study, meticulous study. They get on the training ground and play, set up games where they're under pressure and they sit deep and time again. But also they go, right, he's the threat. Or Thiago, you stop the ball, you stop Thiago getting the ball, you stop in the next pass, which is Mane, which is Salah. So then they work on that now, don't they? They work on stopping Thiago getting the ball.
I didn't see many stopping the ball getting to Thiago.
No, but what I'm saying is that's how they do it, isn't it? They're more progressive now with the way that they're thinking about hurting Liverpool. It's like we know what Liverpool are going to give us. It's like we know what Liverpool are now. They're not new anymore, Liverpool. They do what they do. And for the last 2.5 seasons, they've been near enough the best at it. Last season they won a Premier League, so they're the best. Champions League in Europe, they were the best.
Well, yeah, but you could say that you could level that, like say Man City. Man City had an off season last season, but for the last 4 or 5 seasons, Man City have been like fantastic.
Yeah, but was it off, or did teams figure them out and know how to play against them better than what they did the season before?
Well, no, they didn't. No.
Well, why? Because they
didn't win the
league.
Top of the table. They
lost 9 games last season, so that would suggest that 9 teams have worked them out. Isn't it?
Well, if they walked them out last season, why haven't they walked them out this season?
Because they've signed Ruben Dias.
Because they've changed.
So, like a centre back is going to make the difference, then, is it?
There was a centre back here not too long ago that made that bigger difference, was there not?
I agree. You shoot me down there, yeah.